episode of Surviving the Survivor. We bring you the best guests in all of true crime. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, Joel Waldman.
What's up, STS Nation, and welcome to another episode of Surviving the Survivor, the podcast that promises to bring you the very best guests in all of true crime. And there's a live sneeze for you on STS. I think that's the second live sneeze. I have allergies kicking in today. This is live breaking STS coverage of developments coming out of rural Oklahoma in the Panhandle. We are awaiting an OSBI, that's the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation press conference, which is supposed to have started 3 minutes ago, local time. We are seeing reporter Nancy Liu with News Nation. There you go. This is News Nation's Nancy Liu. She was on the scene during breaking news this weekend. She also happens to be a very nice person, per the COE. I have never met Nancy Liu, but the COE worked at News Nation. She's actually doing a report right now for News Nation, but this is the setup for where she is for the press conference. That, again, is supposed to start 3 minutes ago, but we are hearing it is going to run late. The good part about running late is we've got our best guest here, none other than famed Tallahassee Criminal Defense Attorney R, Tifany Jansen, who just got done doing something with Nancy Grace on this very topic and ran over here. He is becoming a hot commodity in the world of media. And then, of course, we all know the man in the light blue Oxford shirt. That is retired FBI agent Scott Duffy of Great Scott. It's your true crime fill. A show so good. It happens every Friday. First to Scott Duffy. Scott Duffy, you're former FBI, and this is the OSBI. What is the difference between the two, and why has this agency handled what appears to be an absolutely horrific crime here?
Yeah, so they're just letters, right? They're another acronym, whether it be FBI or the state agency, and so thereby they are the lead. This is where it is believed that all the evidence lies, where the crime took place, etc. So they, in conjunction with numerous other agencies, to include the FBI, are offering their assistance, but the lead would be the Oklahoma Bureau State Investigations. So every state has a state investigations, some separate from their state police entities, and then others that are merged.
I'm getting a text message from Laura Engel, who's been covering this, asking me if we're covering it. So I was just responding to her. We're going to break this down because there was a lot of news that developed over the weekend. The headline here is that these two mothers, Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelley, went missing about 2 weeks ago, basically seemingly vanished. There was a custody dispute brewing between Veronica Butler and the father of her children. And over the weekend, and there you're looking at it, this is Veronica Butler on the right and Jilian Kelley on the left. Jilian on the left was supervising the visit for Veronica and her young children with Veronica's, the grandmother of Veronica's children. And that grandmother, a woman named Tifany Adams, it's tough to see, but she's second from the left on the bottom of this graphic, the one holding up that inmate number there. And the reason they're doing that is that the four of these people were arrested over the weekend. Tifany Adams is the grandmother of Veronica Butler's children. There was once again a nasty custody dispute. Tim Jansen, these four people, and hopefully the COE will pull up a clear, better shot of these four suspects. The charges against these four people in rural Oklahoma, Tim Jansen, 2 counts first-degree murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree, all per the OSBI. These are the most serious of serious charges, are they not?
Yeah, they are. And it appears that something new that has developed is there was a petition for a custody hearing coming up. That case has now been sealed. All documents in that case has been sealed, which would clearly be a motive to commit this crime. So all those documents are being sealed. Who sealed that court file? That's sealed. So I think what happened, they found a large amount of blood at the scene, and they found the body. So they knew it was obviously, and I did another show recently with a medical examiner, and he basically said that to get that a large amount of blood, it's either bullet wounds or you need multiple stabbings in the carotid artery or femoral artery. So everybody believes it's a shooting. There's discrepancies whether or not the bodies were decomposed. I'm hearing both ways. So that would make a difference if the bodies were kept preserved in a facility rather than outside, because the medical examiner was describing how quickly they can be decomposed with maggots and stuff. So those are facts, but clearly it's kind of like the Adelson case, right?
Yeah.
Grandmother is charged with murder, right? Over the custody of children, her grandchildren.
Yeah.
Not exactly the same, but close.
Yeah. No, it's different place, different people, similar seeming motives.
Sorry, my camera went berserk there.
It's all right. Shout out to Sunshine, Susie Q for joining here. You can see this is, I miss these days where the camera guys are running in front of the microphones. I was expecting a much bigger gaggle of microphones, but again, keep in mind, this is, I think, in a fairly rural part still of Oklahoma, even though it's an OSBI office, I believe. I do not think this is Oklahoma City. These are the, so just to recap, there was a lot of movement on this case over the weekend. On Saturday, these 4 were arrested. You were looking, the man, almost as incredible as a crime is who these people are. And the man on the left, far left, is a guy named Tad Cullum, Cullum. Hard to believe, Scott Duffy, but that guy is 43 years old. He looks like he could be your grandfather. And he is the boyfriend of the woman next over. And that, hard to believe, Scott Duffy, that woman is a year younger than you, Scott Duffy. That's Tifany Adams, and she's grandma. And then there's 2 other people, Earl Twombly, that he's all the way on the right, and then his wife, Cora Twombly, or Twombly. I'm not sure which way they pronounce it. Twombly? I guess I'll go with Twombly. But they are also arrested, and it's not clear why they are arrested. Laura Ingle, again, News Nation's been doing amazing reporting on this. They found out that these 2 on the far right are dog breeders out of Oklahoma. They breed dogs. They are friends of Tifany Adams. That is the grandmother in red, the shortest one. That is the grandmother of these children. Now, as Tim Jansen was saying, many believe one of the motives for this crime, and it is presumed that the 2 women, Veronica Butler and Jilian, I always screw up her name, Jilian Kelley, it is presumed that the motive for this was, as Tim was saying, a custody battle. So Tim, getting back to the sealing of these documents, there was supposed to be a family court hearing this Wednesday where Veronica Butler, the mother, who has since been killed, from what we understand, was supposed to go to court, family court, and try to get full custody of these children. And they believe that's the motive behind this crime. But when you're talking about sealed documents, are you talking as it relates to that custody petition that the court was going to hear on Wednesday?
Yeah, my understanding, on the 17th, they were having a hearing. Those documents have all been sealed when Jilian, Veronica went missing. those documents were sealed. And I expect that the law enforcement, state attorneys did something for motive to seal those records because it might affect a criminal investigation. And they are sealed right now. Obviously, there's not going to be a custody hearing on the 17th. I think that's probably going to be canceled, obviously. Depending on what the press conference, if they come out and identify, the victims have been found, we don't know how they're going to identify them. Will they identify them by, dental, or will they be able to have to wait for DNA? We don't know the compensation of the bodies. DNA takes a while, but dental records can be really quick. So.
Yeah. And as of yesterday, again, taking 2 steps back, on Saturday, these 4 were arrested. News Nation did amazing reporting on this between Laura Ingle and Nancy Liu. And they were there on Saturday when there was a massive police presence. There was something like 20 armored SWAT vehicles of different, sizes and structure that were moving through this rural section of Oklahoma, and they could hear them on their loudspeakers saying, "We have a search warrant for your arrest."
Joel,
Scott, yes, sir.
Joel, I just found out, and I don't know if this is true, but that it just, once she filed for custody, the grandmother, her son got arrested for possession of a firearm offense. And what is the time you think she turned him in so that she would be able to maintain custody? That'd be another issue on motive.
Yeah, that's another possible point. Now, Tifany Adams, this woman who is second from the left of these mugshots, again, she is the grandma. She looks like she's been through some things in her life. She's my age, which I find that hard to believe. She looks like she could be Tim Jansen's mother. Not actual mother, but age-wise mother.
She's 9 years younger than me.
It's unbelievable. When I don't know what's going on. I don't know if this is the effect of long-term drug use. Scott Duffy, you're the man that's been around a lot of drug users, an FBI agent. There is I guess a presumption. Someone is telling me she aged in dog years, but assuming these people have been using meth or on drugs, which is the word on the street, Kim Princess here saying meth use, does that age you this significantly, Tim Jansen?
It can. Usually your teeth they rot out, and you do get the skin dries out and wrinkles appear more. And I think you lose your hair too.
Scott Duffy, you want to add to that since you're the drug expert here?
Yeah, the effects on the body, especially the face, absolutely are very quick with the use, and having seen my share of meth addicts, between meth, heroin, coke, those are typically the 3 that I've worked. Meth seemed to attack the face, and I've interviewed people that I thought were much older than they were. The fact that the skin's so drawn, the pock marks, the teeth decaying, falling out, etc. It's a sad situation for any of these type of drug users.
Well, the first 2 on the left, Cullum and Tifany Adams, they're certainly living proof as to why you should tell your kids never to use drugs, because it looks like they've been through some things. But Scott Duffy, onto kind of a more, this is obviously as serious a case as it gets. It looks like there are people walking. I'm watching behind the scenes here. Looks like there is there's Tifany Adams and Tad Bert Cullum, scary looking individuals. Here is the press conference. Let's listen in. This is the OSBI spokesperson.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
doing a mic
8,
check.
9, 10. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Again, this is a press conference on the 2 mothers murdered in Oklahoma.
All right, so I'm just going to kind of do a step-by-step process of how we're going to do this. Each agency is going to have an opportunity to talk. You guys will have an opportunity to ask questions. So again, my name is Hunter McKee, Hunter. I'm the Public Information Manager with the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. We have the Director of the OSBI, Angela Spurlock here, the Deputy Director of the OSBI, Stephen Carter. We also have representatives with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We have the Texas County Sheriff, and we also have the District Attorney. So we are going to start with a few words from the Director of the OSBI, Angela Spurlock.
Good morning. I appreciate you all coming today. As Hunter said, my name is Angela Spurlock, the Director for the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. As you all know, we have been working very diligently for the last 2 weeks to bring closure to the families. This has been challenging for everybody involved. This case did not end the way we had hoped. It has certainly been a tragedy for everybody involved. The mission of the OSBI, though, is to protect Oklahoma one partnership at a time, and certainly this case is an example of how those partnerships work, and how it takes everybody coming together to bring resolution. And so while I am very grateful for all of my agents that have worked since the very beginning, 24 hours a day, to get us to the point we are today, we could not have reached where we're at without the partnerships of the Texas County Sheriff's Office, the District 1 District Attorney's Office, without our FBI partners, and without the assistance of the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office and the Oklahoma Highway Patrol that could not be here. So our condolences go out to the family, and we will continue to update you as we continue to move this investigation forward. And I'm going to now turn it over to our FBI partners. Thank you.
Not much details there.
Good morning. My name is Sonia Garcia. I am acting special agent in charge for the Oklahoma City Field Office, FBI. On behalf of the entire FBI, I want to express our sincerest condolences to the family and loved ones of Veronica and Jilian. The FBI was requested to assist on this matter on April 4th. And since then, we've had a dedicated team of analysts, agents, evidence response, and tactical personnel working around the clock and alongside with OSBI and Texas County Sheriff's Office to bring the individuals responsible for this crime into custody and to provide a sense of closure to the families and to this community. Know that we are grieving with you today. We will continue to work with our partners and to be an advocate for Jilian and Veronica and to ensure that justice will be served. Thank you.
Wow.
Basically saying nothing. Here's the Texas County Sheriff.
My name is Matt Bowley. I am the Sheriff of Texas County.
He's not going to say anything
I would
either.
also like to offer our condolences to the family. All right. My agency's role in this is that we received a call on March 30th of an abandoned vehicle missing, with persons missing from the vehicle. Deputies immediately responded to the area. When they arrived on scene, they found some things that just weren't adding up. So we established a crime scene and then notified the OSBI to have them come and assist us with this and to actually take lead on the case. All right. We established a search party made up of the Guyman Fire Department and several of the volunteer fire departments in the county. And we searched the area around the crime scene for about a mile in each direction. Once the OSBI arrived on the scene, they took the lead and got us to this point where we are today. I'd like to thank the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, especially the Northwest region. They were phenomenal in this. The Federal Bureau of Investigations the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, Guyman Fire Department, several Kansas agencies that assisted, local agencies here in Texas County that assisted. And I'm sure I've forgotten a few, but I would like to just say thank you, even to the public. There was a lot of questions from the public as was there any danger to the public? And I think from the get-go, once we arrived on scene, that and we gained a little bit of information that we felt this wasn't a random deal. All right. We felt that with some of the information coming in that it was more targeted, and we started to look in those areas that we were pointed to. Okay. Thank you.
Curious to see what the state attorney says.
I'm George Harrison Leach III. I'm the district attorney for District 1. I wanted to start to let you know that on Friday, the informations were filed, and they were filed under seal. The reason they were filed under seal was to protect our law enforcement officers and to try to keep the children out of harm's way. We were successful. No shots were fired, and the children were kept out of harm's way. Our district judge issued an order this morning, and those files are now unsealed. So you can get the informations at the courthouse, you can get the affidavits at the courthouse, which will give you the facts that we were working off of. Additionally, I would like to begin by, this has been an amazing enterprise. I was reading on social media some of the stuff, and there were people out there that thought law enforcement was asleep, that they weren't doing anything. There were even additional law enforcement agencies, the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, Dallam County Sheriff's Office, Sherman County Sheriff's Office from the state of Texas. Everybody came together and everybody helped. We're probably talking somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 law enforcement officers. Truly, no exaggeration, working night and day for 15 days. I want to thank the public. We had people calling us from North Texas Panhandle, from the Oklahoma Panhandle, from Southwest Kansas, providing us information, responding because they cared. And the information we received from them was critical. Also want to thank corporate America. I don't know how many search warrants we issued. Now I'm telling you, they responded in lightning speed. Anything we needed, any order we sent, we got everything that we needed. Lastly, I'd like to thank all the law enforcement agencies that came together and worked together as a team, and all their personnel. They did a fantastic job. Thank you.
Any additional questions you guys have, go right on ahead.
Is there confirmation at this point that the bodies recovered are Jilian and Veronica?
Not at this time. We have, we identified that there were 2 bodies during our search. Both of those deceased persons have been transported to the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office, where they will do a proper identification and also look into a cause and manner of death.
What led to the discovery of the body?
Based on the evidence that our agents and local law enforcement were able to obtain, we used that to search a wide area throughout Texas County, and we were able to use those resources in order to find where these 2 bodies were. Do you know the timeline for when the bodies should be identified? It's a case-by-case basis, but as soon as we hear back from the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office, we will let the public know.
Can you describe the scene where these bodies were recovered and what state these remains are in?
No, I mean, I can say that it was a very rural area. I cannot state the condition of the bodies.
Is this private property?
I cannot confirm that at this time.
In Oklahoma, there's the death penalty. If convicted, could we possibly maybe see this in the state?
You would have to reach out to the district attorney's office. That'll be something that will be discussed further down the line.
DA Stewart alluded to a lot of people calling in with a lot of tips where they're particular tips that broke this case?
We received several tips throughout this entire process. The public, I mean, I know that we had thanked that our local law enforcement agencies, what they were able to help us and throughout this search, but the people here throughout this area have done a tremendous job of reaching out to us. The original press release that we had put out on March 31st in regards to searching for these two women, we constantly received several tips and had used those throughout the entire 14-day process in order to find these two bodies, and then also discover and find those who were responsible for this crime.
So the reason foul play was suspected was because of evidence found in the car. Can you go into more detail now of what that evidence was?
We cannot still at this time. It is still an ongoing investigation, and that is for our investigative purposes. Again, we can say that the evidence that was discovered inside of that abandoned vehicle and around it, we're able to help our investigators determine that there was foul play involved, and then led to the progression of this investigation. What was in the vehicle around it, we cannot discuss.
It was quite a convoy in executing these 4 search warrants. Was there concern of resistance to arrest? How much concern was there over a possible gunfight?
When you are regarding arrests and multiple arrests in the magnitude that we have all discussed, there is always, there is always a cause of trying to protect the public as best you possibly can. We can say that all 4 of those arrests were made without incident. And so that, of course, went extremely well. And we are extremely grateful. Another agency that wasn't able to make it, that was a big part of that and helped us tremendously, was the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. So we want to thank them tremendously on that. But I mean, again, there was concern, but we are extremely thankful that no one was hurt, no one was injured during this process.
Did any of the 4 suspects charged in the case tell law enforcement where to find them?
Say that one more time.
Did any of the 4 suspects charged in the case tell law enforcement where to find them?
No, we cannot discuss that at this time.
How early did you guys have suspects?
We can't discuss that at this time.
Are you able to go into further detail how you believe that this was targeted and not a random act?
Based on the evidence and the information that we were able to obtain throughout the entire investigation, what was found inside of the vehicle, witnesses, family, friends of the victims that we were able to talk to throughout this entire process, we were able to gain the information to determine that that these 4 people were responsible for both of these women going missing.
Also, are you able to confirm if this was over a custody battle?
We cannot confirm that at this time.
What's the relationship, if any, between the
Again, because it is still an ongoing investigation, we cannot discuss that.
We know that 1 arrest was in Texas County, the 3 others in Cimarron. Can you describe the arrest process? You said there was no resistance, but
That's all we can really say at this time. And we can say that the 4 people that we were looking for were found, arrested, and placed into custody within the same day, and there was no resistance.
and obviously you can't talk about the evidence in this case, but is there significant physical evidence in this investigation?
Yes.
Can you elaborate?
No.
Are you able to go into the condition of the bodies that were found?
No.
Is there a reason you guys were so tight-lipped right off the start? You said there wasn't a threat to the public when you guys were investigating, but still not a lot of information was released. Is there a reason for that?
There was not immediate threat to the public. Again, as the sheriff alluded, this was a targeted case. And when you ask about us not releasing a lot of information in that 2-week process, this is the way that our investigators work. This is what you have to do in order to get the job done. Everybody involved in order to catch those responsible and do everything in our power to find both of these people who went missing from the very beginning. So again, as we tried to do, as the investigation progresses, we can release as much details as we possibly can. But again, the way that this process works is you can't give away as much as maybe you guys are asking for, because that's how we're able to catch these 4 suspects.
Did law enforcement speak with Tifany Adams on March 30th?
I cannot confirm that.
The property where the bodies were found connected to the suspects at all?
I cannot confirm that.
Was Kelley a court-appointed supervisor for Butler's visits with the children?
We can't go into that.
So I know the bodies haven't been identified, but you know, everyone expressed their condolences. Do you think there's any chance that Veronica and Jilian are still alive?
No.
Any word on arraignment?
We will look into that further. When that is made available, we will let everybody know.
As the investigation progresses, do you expect the possibility for more suspects to be arrested?
Not at this time.
Have the suspects been cooperative and talkative, or have they provided any type of confession?
We cannot release that at this time.
Have the families helped you guys during this process? Fill out you guys?
Yes.
What's that been like?
Families, friends, people that have known both of these women who went missing have been a tremendous help. Everybody that we have talked to has helped us tremendously in doing everything they can to give us the necessary information in order for us to try to track them down and find out what happened.
Where are the children?
We can't go into that right now.
Are they?
They're safe. Yes.
Are they
Children are
with
safe.
them?
We can't go into that.
Now that the FBI is involved, will they face any federal charges?
We're not going to go into that right now.
So what next? Is there going to be further investigation?
Yes,
in,
the investigation continues. The next steps are when the identification of the two victims is made, we will let everyone know. And when the cause and manner of death is made by the medical examiner's office, we will let everyone know. Right?
Were the bodies together?
We cannot confirm that. Right now, there are no suspects at large. The public is not in danger. That's what's important to us. We are extremely grateful that we were able to locate and arrest the 4 people that we believe are responsible for this crime. As soon as the identification is made with the bodies, we will let everyone know. But again, it took everybody in this case to get this done. We know that there were people throughout the 2-week process who were frustrated, who wanted answers as soon as possible. You know, we wanted those answers too. But just know that our OSBI agents, FBI agents, troopers, Kansas Bureau of Investigation, the KHP, everybody worked nonstop in order to come together and make these arrests.
Can you talk at all about the relationship between?
No, we can't go into that right now.
Was there ever any concern for the children at any point in this investigation? Like for their safety?
There's always concern whenever there's children involved, but we can say that the children are safe.
With this being such a rural area, did this make this case unique in any ways?
It made it challenging. Again, you're talking about northern Texas County near that Kansas line. It's very rural. Those of you in the media that have been up there covering this, there's not a lot of homes, not a lot of buildings or businesses. Sometimes you could use cameras to help you in this case. We did not have that. So that's what made it extremely challenging.
Is there any video of that?
Not at this time.
Have you ever seen a case like this? Like, is there anything different about it?
The OSBI covers all kinds of cases. Each case is different in their own way. They're all just as important to us. But, you know, this case was tragic. You have 2 people who are dead, and 4 people that committed an absolutely brutal crime. And so, again, that's why it took every agency involved in this in order to get this done.
Those 4 are still being held here?
Yes. Is everybody good?
Everybody good? He didn't answer anything.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
So that was Hunter McKee, the last speaker. He is the spokesperson for the OSBI. And we heard from Angela Spurlock. She is the director of the OSBI. Tara brings up probably the best point. This was a peculiar press conference, to say the least. They all came out and offered condolences. And then about 10 minutes into the press conference, or 15 minutes in, admitted that at that point that the bodies that they recovered on Sunday, just yesterday, have not been identified. So they can't say for sure that it is Veronica Butler or Jilian Kelley. Tara here saying, why give their condolences when they haven't even confirmed who the deceased are? Now, Veronica and Jilian both have very distinctive tattoos. So that's one way. Scott Duffy, your reaction to this press conference, hearing from the OSBI, the spokesperson for the OSBI, the district attorney, of course, your friends at the FBI, almost no information released, pertinent information released. I understand that because it's still an ongoing investigation, but they're in a peculiar position because they essentially said the bodies were found and it's them without being able to say it's them.
Yeah, remember the 4 are charged with murder. And so as opposed to kidnapping or some sort of interference with child custody, some sort of charge or parole or probation violations to hold them pending the results of the identity of these victims. So the evidence at the scene must have been an amazing amount of evidence to be able to put into an affidavit that there is no reasonable expectation that the 2 people are alive. And so the fact that they're charged with murder and not identifying the 2 bodies is very foretelling of the evidence that they do have. But at the same time, it is a press conference to just put out enough information to say, hey, we have arrests, we are working on identifying bodies, go to the courthouse to look at the affidavits, as opposed to perhaps having the affidavit there and saying we can share some information in the affidavit. So it was quite a interesting press conference that I would agree with both of you says nothing.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get these. The district attorney said everything was sealed to protect the children primarily, but those have since, as of today, been unsealed. So we'll try to get some of those documents. Cindy, please tell me STS you're going to cover their trials. That's still a long ways away, but I hope to cover this trial for sure. Tim Jansen, one of the questions that wasn't asked till pretty much the end, which was the most important question, is are the children safe? And we find out that they are safe, with no details as to where they are, who's watching them, other than the OSBI spokesperson Hunter McKee saying that they are safe. But again, Tim, this is the director of the OSBI. We've been working for the last 2 weeks to bring closure. A couple of the agencies use the word closure, which is a word people dislike vehemently because there's no such thing as closure for the families. The OSBI director saying it didn't end the way we hoped. It's a tragedy for everyone involved. She thanked her agents who worked 24 hours and then again offered condolences. That's the odd part of this, because offering condolences when the bodies have not been identified just has to make you think that they know for certain. They just can't reveal yet until they get the official word from the medical examiner. But Tim, one of the interesting points, at least right now, is that there has been no arraignment. Talk to us about the legal process. They're just sitting in a jail right now, I believe in Texas County, Oklahoma. How soon would an arraignment have to take place? What's holding that up?
Well, it could be a number of things. One, if they're going to hire their own lawyers, what county it is. Is it a rural county where the judge only goes there like once a week? Sometimes these judges, they're circuit judges, and they go to different locations, and it may not, they just haven't had the judge there, and he's going to and then try to get lawyers for 4 people. They're probably going to be court appointed or public defenders. The thing that I took, my understanding was when the police found the vehicle, they found blood in the vehicle, a large amount of blood, which is what told them this was not a car that ran out of gas. And then that would have justified all the resources and the way they jumped into action. They said the families were cooperating, which I'm sure. Apparently Jilian was there on behalf of the court to supervise a visit with Veronica's kids. So she might have just, I think she may just be an innocent, completely innocent to these parties. And the press conference didn't give you much information, but it really tells you what happened. They believed it was foul play immediately. They got on the phone with family and friends. They sealed the court file. Families would have said, FBI would say, hey, do you know anybody that would want to hurt him? Oh, sure. There's a custody hearing coming up on the 17th. Okay, then the FBI says, okay, someone go review that file. Then they get the state attorney to seal that file. Okay, everything looks like it was done by the book. They can't tell you what they want to tell you, but they are telling you. They're giving condolences even though they can't. They said they can't ID the bodies and they can't tell the cause of death. I think they just want official confirmation in paper. I think they know who the bodies are. They may not know the cause of death. They probably do know if there was bullet holes. We need to know the condition of the bodies when they were found. And there's questions whether or not Twombly owned some property in that area, whether the bodies were found there. So those are the questions you want to find out. The press conference is to let the citizens know, hey, your law enforcement's working, we're cooperating, we arrested the people that we did, no one is in danger. Those are the things that are most important, and they shouldn't rush and point fingers or give evidence because that's only can hurt the process. They're not even charged yet. They've been arrested. And I guess there's an information file. They haven't even been arraigned. So I think the process is going like it should at this point.
Do you expect the arraignment in the next day or so, or this week at least?
I definitely this week. If it was in Tallahassee, it would have already happened. Normally you go before a judge within 24 hours of your arrest.
Yeah.
And even in federal court, you get arraigned immediately the next day. So I'd like to know how rural this county is, what judge is going to be handling the arraignment. Those are the questions that might tell you why it's taken so long.
Scott Duffy has a hard out, I believe, in about 15 minutes, but we appreciate him being here. Elf, does Oklahoma have the death penalty? They sure do. They began executions again, I believe, in 2021. And if there's 4 people that are probably deserving of facing that death penalty, if these allegations are true, it would be the 4 of these people. You're looking at not these people here, but back to Jilian, Kelley, and Veronica Butler. When you look at the math here, mother of 4, mother of 2, that's 6 kids now, as Lindsay Shea points out, without their mothers. The relationship between the 4 perpetrators, these 2 are boyfriend, girlfriend. That's Grandma Tifany Adams and Tad Cullum, their boyfriend, girlfriend. And then the other 2 here on the far right are husband and wife. And I believe they were friends with the other 2. What exactly transpired between the 4 of them, we still don't know. But we know that the 4 have been charged or facing charges. There's no formal arraignment, but they're all facing murder charges. So they had to help in some way to assist in this crime. Scott Duffy, your friend Sonia Garcia at the FBI, she also wanted to express condolences. She said that the FBI was asked to assist back on April 4th. Today is April 15th. They want to, again, she used the word closure, as did the OSBI director, which is not a word I think people are too happy with. She also wanted to know that the FBI is grieving with the families today. Scott Duffy, everyone's asking. So this happened back on March 30th, the report that the car was abandoned. It is now April 15th. It is tax day today. Scott Duffy, people want to know, is this a fast job by the agencies involved to apprehend and arrest these 4 suspects in about 2 weeks' time?
I think this is super fast. I mean, you have 2 people that went missing, so and believed to be dead. not yet found. And so you're looking feverishly. I would even go to say with regards to the crime scene that there might have even been, a lot of blood. And so thereby you have to interject some expert to say, is it possible that these people could still be alive? There's probably an expert opinion. My guess is in that affidavit, it shows perhaps brain matter or something, be like, of what was found at the scene, it is not possible for one or both to be alive. So with it's just to give you an idea of what they're dealing with. So 2 weeks is an amazing, especially when you're looking at a conspiracy, 4 people as opposed to 1 person. So to be able to get the evidence, to be able to go through what I imagine is the digital media, and so is it, the fact that you, as I believe the PIO Hunter spoke about, evidence from digital media and whatnot led to a site and led to the finding of 2 bodies, would show that, hey, these 4 people were working very much in unison, and probably spent a considerable amount of time in one location, to where investigators could say, why are 4 people, 2 people, however many of them? And believe me, if there were additional individuals, they would be, or subsequently will be, charged at the at what looks to be a burial site. So the 14, 15 days is super fast. And they were working against the clock, because they also realized, hey, the 2 children that all this centers around are still in the custody of grandma. So we really need to move quickly. And they are juggling that too. Hey, we're targeting them. We know from day 2, or whenever they decided, that grandma is the target of our investigation, and then the subsequent parties come about through additional evidence, that they are working. Should we arrest them now because we need to get those 2 children? Should we get the 2 children out of the house? So all that's playing in this investigation, and to have it done in 14 days. And when I say done, to at least have 4 people in custody, and 2, what looks to be most likely the bodies of these victims, recovered, is, in my opinion, very fast, very efficient.
Hey, Scott, as an FBI agent, when you issue subpoenas, sometimes these corporate partners take a while to give it to you. The press conference, they were specific to say how cooperative they were, how quickly they returned it. So they could have easily tracked the phone and who was talking to who on the day in question, then got the geo tracking, which would have put these 4 people together, coordinate all the phone calls, and then they could have geo tracked where did they go. That could have helped them find the body. That's why the 2 weeks, with modern technology today, and if they're cooperating, you can get information more quickly, which leads to arrests like this more quickly.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And with the, with if the FBI was involved in such a way that the OSBI said, hey, FBI, take over the digital media aspect and get these subpoenas out. When you're talking about 2 individuals that are missing, presumed dead, but missing, that's very important, because it goes to show the urgency that, hey, there's still a potential to find 2 people that are endangered, missing. And so you have companies, the IP providers, cell phone, all that information very quickly, with the anticipation that a subpoena, search warrant, et cetera, is going to be coming down. I would sign documents to say, I can't wait till somebody writes an affidavit, gets sworn before a judge, and then have it delivered. I'm going to lose precious time there. okay, here's the information now. So your analyst can be working on it, but sign this form for us. In other words, relieve us of any liability of the information we're going to provide you, because you, the investigator, you're putting your name on the dotted line that you promise that a court process is going to be forthcoming. And so that's what we would do, to say, hey, get this information to us immediately, and we are getting search warrants, subpoenas to you forthcoming. So I imagine that is what took place in this investigation.
And if if Jillian's family, say Jillian's phone was in her husband's name, or that phone was a work phone, they could have easily gotten permission, because he said the families also cooperated. So all those partners together really make it much quicker, faster. And you're right, it saved people's lives, the children, and you got the 4 people. So they feel very confident in their case that there was a lot of evidence, they said, at the scene of the car. A lot of evidence.
Well said, Tim. For those just joining us, we just watched a press conference regarding 2 Kansas mothers who went missing on March 30th. And the OSBI, there they are, Jilian, Kelley, 39, Veronica, Butler. It was supposed to be a planned visitation of Veronica's 2 children. And according to the OSBI, what's interesting and sad is they sent condolences to the family, which you would presume that they are both murdered. However, they have not confirmed the identification of the 2 people found in rural Texas County to be these 2 women. So we are assuming that they know that for sure. They just can't say it yet. It is really good always to get Scott's insight as a retired FBI, especially since they were working this case. Just a quick note, today at 5 p.m., busy day for STS. We are looking at Madeline Soto, the 13-year-old who was killed, presumably the prime suspect there, Stephon Stearns. And then at 7 p.m., we're doing a full wrap-up of this with Laura Engel of News Nation and the largest private investigator in the state of Oklahoma. That is at 7 o'clock tonight. So please join us for both of these shows. Now, the district attorney in rural Texas County, he's got the same name as one of the Beatles. George Harrison Leaks is his last name. George Harrison Leaks III. He is the DA. He said that these files were under seal until today. That was to keep kids safe. That now you can look at the affidavits, which we'll try to get our hands on. And he went on to say this has been an amazing enterprise. People thought that law enforcement was asleep, but more than 100 officers were working night and day for 15 days. Tim Jansen, what does the DA's office have to do today, tomorrow, and the next couple of days?
Well, they have to really look at the evidence, see if this was a planned murder execution, or was it it just went south and they took off and then shot these people. And then so that makes a big difference if you're going to seek the death penalty. Was it planned, premeditated, or was it these people just high on drugs, got into an argument, shot these people, and then took their bodies? And they're going to want to discuss with the family of the victims, because the victims' family, you want to let them, they have some involvement. In Florida, victims have a lot of say-so in plea resolutions, but you could also ask them, do you want to seek the death penalty? And some do and some don't. Some families, even victims, don't believe in the death penalty, right? You automatically assume because your child was killed, you want the death penalty. So I'm sure the district attorney is going to speak to them and how they charge it and whether, but they don't need to make that decision yet. They have to have an arraignment. If I'm with them, I'm trying to get Twomblys to cooperate, trying to flip one of them, tell them, listen, you don't want to spend the rest of your life in prison. You got 10 minutes. And they may have to wait till he gets a lawyer appointed now because they've been arrested, so they're entitled to a lawyer. That might be going on behind the scenes. We don't know. But you would always try to flip the least culpable, right? Someone that maybe helped afterwards. Because you want to get this and resolve this so that no family has to go to trial. Or if they have to go to trial, make sure they get a conviction.
Tim, do they really put that kind of pressure on someone saying, look, you got 10 minutes to come to us and tell us everything you know, or you're facing the same charges as grandma?
Well, they have a saying in federal court, first to the trough feeds the best. Okay.
Say that again.
The first to the trough, like a cow, gets fed the best. They get the most, right? That's no different in federal cases, or in state cases. We'll take the first one in, the least culpable, and use them because that's who the witnesses are. And if you have a good lawyer who's independent and he's got someone that might have just tagged along, knew about this, sure, you're going to try to cut a deal for your client. And the state attorney will do what's called a proffer. You tell me to get queen for the day, tell me what you know, and we'll decide if we're going to use you. And that's how it happens. Scott can tell you he's done that, I'm sure, thousands of times in his career. I've done it. It's really interesting. They also have what's called a reverse proffer, where the government sits down with the lawyer for the suspect and says, this is what we have against you. You're going to be convicted. We're going to give you a day to think about it. Otherwise, we're moving on. And that happens also.
Wonderful job by law enforcement agencies involved. They are too often criticized. Someone said it reminded them of the Koberger case when the Moscow Police Department was being criticized. But look, this is in 2 weeks' time. They've got 4 suspects in custody. No one else that we know of was hurt. Obviously, 2 brutal murders, it appears like. Jilian was collateral damage. It was revealed that Jilian Kelley was one of 4 court approved supervisors. So she was going with Veronica Butler on a supervised visit where everything went absolutely haywire, and it looks like grandma set up a murder using these 4. Scott Duffy, I know you got to jump in a minute, but these 2 on the right are apparently pig farmers and dog breeders. And this is the gruesome part. There's been a lot of, and none of this is factually corroborated, but through people that have spoken to people on scene there's word that perhaps these 2 women, the victims in all this, were possibly dismembered, possibly fed to hogs and or pigs. These 2 on the right are pig farmers. But then it seems like their bodies were recovered. I don't know what to make of this. If they were fed to hogs, I don't think that we would have the manner of cause of death and manner as easily as if they were not. I know this is a really gruesome point, Scott, but what do we make of that? Do we assume that their bodies were whole and intact, or could something more sinister like the hog scenario have played out, and now it's going to be a harder run in terms of trying to identify these 2 women, and that's why they couldn't do it yet?
I would say all the above. So you're the couple that I guess friends of the grandma and her boyfriend, right? It would all depend where were the bodies. I could see that the PIO did not confirm whether it was private or public property. So that's still something that hasn't been provided. So whose address is it? Who land does it belong to? And is it in this group of people that have been arrested? So is it possible that that as horrible as it may be, that was their end goal in order to get rid of all the evidence? And so perhaps the investigation recovering of these bodies will show some sort of decomposition, dismemberment, or whatnot. Maybe they were in the process, and then maybe they decided that it wasn't fast enough, and so buried. So it'd be interesting to see at what point, and it will come out, of what the state of the bodies were, and then of course the process it takes to identify them. You have clothing, you have whether it be jewelry and whatnot. There are many different things to go along to help identify. Maybe not so much for the sake of putting out in public, hey, we've recovered the remains and they are the 2 women that have gone missing, but for law enforcement to be able to say we feel comfortable that this investigation has concluded to the point of 4 people have been arrested and they kidnapped and murdered 2 people, and 2 bodies are recovered. So there's a lot of reading between the lines. They can't come out publicly and say what they're saying, but I imagine those affidavits that have been unsealed and are filed at the court have a tremendous amount of information that will fill in a lot of these blanks, to include the couple being pig farmers and whatnot, to what their play in this investigation is. But I like the conspiracy part, because yes, the first one through the door, we would say, hey, you're going to get the biggest break, and if the evidence is overwhelming, I would say I would welcome your attorney, because I can speak sense to your attorney when they see how much we have and what you're facing, whether it be death penalty, life in prison, especially if their part was lesser. But a conspiracy is a conspiracy. So they, no matter what their part in this, minimum or maximum, they're all facing very much the same type of sentencing, depending on their level of cooperation.
Scott Duffy, always with the insight. Scott, you did have to bounce at the top of the hour, correct?
If you're still going, I do have till about 12:30. Is that good?
Okay, so we'll keep going for a little bit longer. Thanks, Scott. And thanks to Dilly Pickles. I also saw, and I apologize, I didn't catch the name. There are a couple people, but one in particular who is from this area and knows both Jilian and Veronica. So just know that it's a little cliche, but it is true. Our thoughts and our prayers are with you all in the panhandle of Oklahoma and Kansas, in that area. This is a horrific crime. There will be no closure, sadly, but these 4 hopefully will, these 4 here will hopefully suffer the most severe consequences if, in fact, they are responsible for these crimes. There's so much that's just not known right now, but this was the belief from the very beginning, that the motive behind this was a custody battle. Again, Tim and I have extensively covered in a much different part of the country, much different sorts of people, same motive, custody battle with Donna Adelson, Charlie Adelson, and the Markells on the other side, and that resulted in a murder for hire plot. At the end of this week, there's Shanna Gardner and her new husband, Mario Fernandez Saldana, also charged in a murder for hire plot. In a different case, that is Jared Bridegan. They are, some of them were members of the LDS Church. The Don Adelson case, Jewish people. Here, these are sovereign citizens in Oklahoma. So it doesn't matter who you are or where you are, the socioeconomics, the religion, the motives can remain the same. But just the brutality of this, it seems like grandma there, second from the left, at least on some level, was directly involved in this. Hunter McKee came out, and again, he is the spokesperson. He was the last one to speak. The ones who say he looks a little like Ben Affleck and a little bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger's illegitimate child, I guess. That's Hunter McKee. And he again said there's no confirmation it is either Veronica or Jilian, that they are still waiting for cause and manner of death. Tim Jansen, this, as you mentioned, the decision about the death penalty is still a long ways away, but this is, again, a very religious community here. Jillian's husband is a pastor, an active pastor. Would they have, I mean, they don't need to have the family's permission per se, but if they were going to pursue the death penalty, they would run it by the families, the victims' families, correct?
That's correct. They would, for sure. Absolutely.
And what if this pastor, Jillian's husband, says, I'm a man of God. I don't believe in an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. I don't believe in the death penalty. Would they then take it off the table or not necessarily?
That's a decision for the elected district attorney. He'll make that decision, and he's going to base it on probably the criminal history of these people. And then he's going to on whether it was excruciating painful and they suffered a lot of pain, how horrible the crime was, and whether he believes death penalty is justified.
4 suspects are being held without bond in the Texas County Jail. That is rural Oklahoma, not in Texas, but in Oklahoma, and are scheduled to make an initial court appearance Wednesday morning. This according to the Texas County Clerk, Renee Ellis. Tim Jansen, what will we expect at that initial court hearing on Wednesday morning?
Well, they'll read the charges, or they can waive formal reading. They're going to enter a plea. They're going to see if they have attorneys, or there'll be court-appointed lawyers. They may have questions about bond. I don't think they're going to be eligible for bond. But maybe one of the less, I don't know, they're charging a conspiracy. So as Scott said, you're responsible for everybody or every action the co-conspirator takes. So technically, they're probably all looking at life in prison, which is not someone you normally would get a bond for, regardless of their previous criminal history.
Alice Ryder Feld, who I believe is an attorney and lives in this area, in Miami area. I emailed stuff on sovereign citizens. This is for Tim Jansen again. Please understand, this is not just a conservative movement. They are a terrorist group, I guess. And as you see, no laws apply to them. Sovereign citizens believe that they are not part or not beholden to the U.S. government. Tim Jansen, even though that's their belief system, and it's not been confirmed yet, but it is widely believed that they consider themselves sovereign citizens. The laws still apply to them. It doesn't matter what they think, correct?
That's right. And I will tell you, I've dealt with these people. They're very dangerous. They're very, you just don't know what they're going to do. Courts, law enforcement, and even judges are aware of this movement, and they know they can be violent. And you have to take extreme caution, because they do not believe that the laws apply to them. They don't believe anybody can tell them what to do. They're not a sovereign citizen of the United States. And you can't reason with them. Most times they end up going to trial. They want to represent themselves because they don't believe anybody has sovereignty over them. So that can make this complicated if they end up wanting to represent themselves.
Scott Duffy, one of the questions I thought was a great question, an interesting question was, were the bodies that they recovered, were they found together or not? Let's just for a moment say that they were not together when they were found. What would that tell you, if anything?
It would lead me to believe that, some of the discussions that were how do you get rid of bodies? It's not an easy task. And so I would imagine that if they're holding that close to the vest, that's also telling of maybe perhaps what condition the bodies were found, and perhaps there were multiple locations. Are they buried like 5 feet apart, 2 feet apart, not in the same? If there was attempt to bury them, or on opposite side. I just don't know enough about what exists on this plot of ground. What type of structures exist? Being that they're pig farmers, is it on a pig farm? Is it within the field? Those things would be quite interesting to see how far they went in order to try to hide their crimes. So it will continue to go into what level of planning was involved with this, as opposed to this was a spur of a moment out of anger, and then it happened, and then trying to clean up a bad act. So there are a couple of things I could take out of it, but at the same time, not knowing enough, if there was a burial, but not in the same plot of land, versus what's the distance. So
Scott Duffy, let me ask you a question I always ask you after I read this comment from Denise L. So gangster granny, second from the left, loved her grandbaby so much she assisted in their mom's death, or murder is better put. These four couldn't come up with a plan to cope with a difficult situation. Scott Duffy, I ask you this all the time. What the hell was Granny Adams thinking here? Thinking it'd be a good idea to kill the children's mother. No one ever gets away with these crimes. I mean, it's one in a billion who get away with these crimes. What was she and her lovely boyfriend on the left, on these two, what were they thinking, Scott? They had to know they'd get caught, and they got caught.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing about this, Joel and Tim, and you have already mentioned with regards to this type of murder, to where the motive or part of it is child custody, and throughout the United States, I would even say throughout the world, child custody issues drive deep. And I've seen it time and time again to where they don't result in some major act of violence, but there's a tremendous amount of turmoil on both sides to where the children are forgotten and people become so enraged. So back in 2013, we had a very, very similar incident where it first came out at a mass shooting at a Delaware courthouse. But ultimately, it was a long-standing child custody battle that ended up horrible. And you have the grandfather of the children by the name of Tom Matuzewicz, who, being a former police officer, drove up from Texas to Delaware on the day of a child custody hearing and opened fire against the mother of the children and what we call collateral damage, an innocent victim, a neighbor, a friend who was there strictly for moral support to be with her friend. And this individual, the grandfather, took out both those lives and ultimately ending in his own death. And so the father, David, was in the courtroom waiting, but knowing exactly what was about to take place, knowing that his ex-wife was not going to make it to that courthouse, but he had an alibi being in that courthouse. And this, I see these eerily similar, just that rage of years and years of hate. So you forget about the children, and it's all about payback and whatever other devastating consequences. So the FBI got involved in that and prosecuted for the first time in U.S. history a federal law showing that a domestic that across interstate lines, this constant dispute, but this plan to travel across state lines and to murder someone, that so thereby the whole family, the Matuzewicz and mother and sister, all planning. And that took quite a long time with the Delaware State Police homicide, FBI ultimately getting prosecuted because they've realized, hey, this was a conspiracy, but the others that we want to have arrested could not be arrested in Delaware unless there was a federal charge. So there are very early similarities here, and it's just time and time again, these child custody issues just drive at the heart. And here we just see the absolute devastation. The children suffer, and the children of the other, the court-appointed individual doing her job. She died in the line of duty here. Remember, died in the line of duty. Someone who is there to monitor and ensure the safety of everyone involved. So there's a lot of domino effect here of pain and suffering.
Joel, 6 days ago in Houston, we had the same thing happen. The father of the son, the child custody, the father's a lawyer representing his son, shot and killed the wife and the lawyer, the new lawyer in Texas, over child custody.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. And I think the father then took his own life.
Yeah. Yep, that was a big
He
story a
wanted,
few days ago.
he wanted to ensure that his son was going to have custody. And we don't know if the son knew about it, but we know now that the wife is dead, so the father will be the next one to get custody.
Unreal. Two questions, Tim, sort of related to that. Because these people are sovereign, quote unquote, sovereign citizens, do you expect that they will try to represent themselves in a court of law? Are they going to be forced to have a public defender?
Do we know for sure they're sovereign citizens?
From what I've heard, the boyfriend, the guy on the right here, is Granny's up in the air.
Okay.
But the reports are is that they are. The one for sure is this guy on the right, Tad Cullum.
I can see him representing himself. I can see him doing that. What the courts normally would do, they will have standby counsel, and they will sit at the table with them. And if they choose to, especially if it's a death penalty, you're definitely going to have standby counsel, even if they don't do anything, to be there to assist them. I think that's what the law requires. But it's, child custody, divorce, and family law is the most dangerous for any lawyer to be in, because when you take someone's child away, it's personal. And violence, it happens all the time. I would never take child custody, family divorce case. It is. It's good people on their worst behavior. I usually get bad people on their best behavior, right? So it's just dangerous. It really is.
Yeah. Back to you, Tim, on this one. I think the obvious answer to this is no. Is the father going to have custody of the kids now, despite him being a drug addict? So according to court filings, even this is the grandma is Wrangler Cole Rickman. That's the father's name, Wrangler Cole Rickman. She, in a court filing, said he is unfit to be. The own mother said he's unfit to be a custodian of his own children because he's a drug addict and he has no interest in raising the kids. The bigger question, Tim, what is going to happen to these poor children now? The father is in a court-appointed rehab. He's obviously been portrayed and known to be uninterested in parenting. Granny's now going to probably go to prison the rest of her life, more than likely. And mom is presumed dead. What happened to these children now?
They're going
on her side.
They're going to go into foster care. They're going to go into protective custody of the state for which they're living. And they'll probably be put up for adoption if they can't find a relative that doesn't fit and is qualified to take custody. The courts try to get relatives, and we don't know. The bloodline doesn't seem to be very good here. But hopefully they'll try to find some relative that can do it. Otherwise, they're going to be put in foster care.
Web fan, just to show you the insanity of these custody cases and where they lead. I'm reading that also in Kansas, a custody case had a 7-year-old boy unalived by his own father and fed to pigs in 2015. The mother sued Kansas for ignoring, state of Kansas for ignoring to help her. Josie Chaplin, this must be a typo. The boyfriend on the right can't be 43, but he is. The man on the right there, 43 years old, at least according to public records. Maybe if he shaved that beard, he'd look a little bit. Carm would definitely scream at him for that beard. Scott Duffy, one of the other very disturbing pieces of this all too disturbing case is in these court filings, both sides. So Grandma Adams here accused Veronica Butler, the mother's brother. It's hard to follow this, but Grandma accused the mother's brother of sexually abusing the children. And then Veronica Butler turned around and said the kid's father, this guy Wrangler Cole Rickman, was abusing the children. So what kind of investigation needs to be done to get to the bottom of that? Because those are serious crimes themselves.
Yeah. And that also could play a part into just what was this grandmother doing with regards to trying to get custody of the children. Remember, this is a murder, and what sounds like a vicious, brutal murder to remove the mother from the children's lives. And then, as Tim referenced before, you have the father just so happens to have been removed likewise just prior to. So it will play into what exactly was this grandmother planning for, and for how long, and was all this part of the ploy? These, there are false accusations that are thrown out all the time in child custody issues, right? It's just a standard. Hey, this person did that, and hopefully the court will weigh it. So it's these cases are just there's so many these webs of deceit, and how does a judge in a short period of time, looking at the best interest of the children, be able to see, wow, I have both sides that have horrible allegations against each other, and so what goes forth in order to be able to keep those kids safe and happy and growing, right? While parents and grandparents are squabbling over different allegations. So wow, like Tim said, he stays away from those. They're very, very difficult, but it may also now be reintroduced to see just how much this grandmother was plotting, and perhaps with false accusations. So just, yeah.
You can see the COE has put up some information courtesy of Vesper Martini, one of our friends of the show, and the Texas County Clerk of Court is going to be very busy today. You can see the COE has reached out to the clerk to try to get additional information, but you can see here case information: the state of Oklahoma versus Tifany Machel Adams. Offense or cause, Tim Jansen. 1, murder in the first degree, deliberate intent. Murder in the first degree, deliberate intent, kidnapping. Why do they have it twice? Why 2 murder in the first? Oh, for each, I got it.
Each body.
Each body. But and then 1 conspiracy. Okay. So again, sorry, I'm reading a little too involved in what's right in front of me. But Tim Jansen, again, these are the most serious charges that anyone can face, right?
They are. I look at that sheet and I'm like, how many documents has Vesper asked for? She's got an amount of $2,000 owed. So I hope that's a typo and these documents didn't cost $2,000. Yeah, you got a murder in the first degree, kidnapping, and then the bottom one, it doesn't look that dangerous, but conspiracy. What that does, it voids all hearsay statements to co-conspirator statements. Now, anything what other person said or texted is not hearsay because it went in furtherance of the conspiracy. It really brings in a lot of evidence that's really damaging. And in conspiracy, all you have to do is prove they agreed. They agreed to commit a crime. They agreed to commit a murder. Very hard to fight, and it opens up so much evidence in the case. And almost all federal courts, as Scott knows, they love charge conspiracy. It's the prosecutor's best friend. And I've had defendants say they can't prosecute me. They don't have any drugs on me. And when they go to prison for 30 years, that conspiracy took care of that issue.
According to Caitlin, and I've read this, Veronica was only requesting that she have longer visits and unsupervised visits. Granny was not about to lose custody anytime soon, although there was a court hearing scheduled for Wednesday where there are some reports that Veronica was going to ask for full custody. And again, that could be part of the motive. So for those of you who are kind of tuning in late, there was just a press conference from multiple state, federal, and local agencies about Jilian, Kelley, and Veronica Butler, the 2 moms who are from Kansas who went missing back on March 30th. It was announced today, although not officially. Again, it was strange. All these agencies offered their condolences, but we're still waiting on identification of these bodies. The bodies were recovered yesterday, so a fast-moving case. The bodies were recovered yesterday. It's unclear in what condition, where, other than to say it was a rural area. The OSBI says, of course, the medical examiner is going to determine cause and manner of death. And then these four, the day before, were taken into custody in a very rural part of Oklahoma, a massive law enforcement presence with SWAT trucks and other heavily armored vehicles and law enforcement agents with long guns, arresting these four in different locations without incident. The accused killers, again, on the left, Tad Cullum, 43, Tifany Adams, 54. You've got Cora Twombly, 44. And then you've got Earl Twombly, 50 years old. Of course, Tifany Adams, second from the left, is the grandmother of Veronica Butler's children. And Tad Cullum, the oldest looking 43-year-old in the history of the world, he is the grandmother's boyfriend. All four have been booked into the Texas County Jail. We're expecting a first appearance on Wednesday morning. We will bring that to you. Brings us to our final thoughts here. Tim Jansen, go ahead, sir.
So I got to jump. I'm doing the Trump analysis of the Trump trial and ABC in a few minutes. So
when it rains, it pours. I'm not touching that with a 10. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Good luck, Timbo. We'll be watching. That's obviously a historic case. Take care, Tim. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Tim. Talk to you later.
Scott Duffy, that leaves you and I, and you've got to jump in a second. We got 2 minutes. Your final thoughts. Kudos. Law enforcement always has a very hard job. No one got hurt other than the two victims, which was basically unpreventable by law enforcement. But the children appear to be in okay shape now, and they're awaiting the identification, cause, and manner of death. What do you expect next in terms of the investigation into this horrific and horrible case?
Yeah, so I imagine there will be some sort of positive identification that's going to be put out by the powers that be. And again, the investigation, like anything, really is just beginning. You're putting everything together, especially against individuals that if the information is true that one, some, or all are part of sovereign nation, that does throw a wrench into it, because then you're not dealing with people who trust the justice system and will do everything in their power to constantly delay, and ultimately, what does it do? It just slows down justice for the families of these victims. This is a murder of two women who are mothers and friends to others, and these four before you, even though the allegations are made by law enforcement, the motive sounds pretty selfish, in the sense that pay no mind to the lives of the children, to where all this was centered, and to remove their loved ones, and to just it's just sad, and it's another story of a horrible domestic child custody that turns into, they're just sad deaths.
Horrific way for these two women to have gone. Thanks, guys. Godspeed. Charis, Rose, why are you talking about how they look? It's all about their actions. That is 100% right. But can't kind of help but take note of at least the two on the left here. These are the victims here. Jilian Kelley, 39, Veronica Butler. No reason for them to have been killed, but it appears that they were in fact murdered. We are again waiting on the manner and cause of death, and obviously also just the identification that it is in fact the two of them. But the chances are better than good that it is the two of them, found in the rural area of Texas County, Oklahoma, where they went missing back on March 30th. Again, the motive is believed to be revolving around a child custody battle. No one wins in this. Scott Duffy, I will never understand why people commit these crimes, knowing that people like you are on the other side trying to catch them and will catch them. And in this case, it is no different. They were caught, and they're now more than likely going to spend the rest of their days behind bars for what? Just over a custody battle. Now These kids have no one to visit with. And it is just a horrific tragedy. We are going to do a full recap of this story tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time on the Best Guest channel. At 5 o'clock, we're doing a Madeline Soto show, catching you up to date on what's going on in that case. And then on our Best Trials channel right now, you've got the Chad Daybell trial going on, gavel to gavel. That is on the Best Trials channel. So if you haven't subscribed to that, please do. Surviving the Survivor. It is Best Trials. I think it is at Surviving Survivor YouTube trials, something along those lines. I don't know, but I'll have to get that link up. Scott, thank you for joining us. I know you've got a busy day. Love you, America. Love you, Philly. Love you, Delaware. Love you, Texas County, Oklahoma. And let's think of these two women today. Godspeed.